Good evening, good people. Welcome to another episode of Speak with Dilys. I first have to apologize because of the timing. I got the timings wrong. As you know, I'm in London and we have changed from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time. So some of you are going to catch this either you came on an hour earlier thinking that I was late or I wasn't coming on, or you're going to catch it an hour after. So I'm apologizing in advance, but I will still do this show regardless of how many of you are actually live watching with me. And yeah, I'm sure that you will join when you are able to. So I will do the introduction. Thank you, whoever has just joined. Please do share. I just apologized for getting the timing wrong, which means some of you, as I said, are not going to catch this live. But you know what? This is show being near, so we just gonna roll with it because that's just what we do. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being in on here. So good evening, good people. Today's episode is part 2 of Black and Blue. We had a great conversation with Richmond Apau, aka Rough Daddy, last week, Sunday. So for those of you who do not know who I am, I'm going to introduce myself. And for those of you that will catch me on the replay, my name is Dilys Silla. I am the host of Speak with Dilys, a show that was created to create safe spaces for people to have conversations that we wouldn't normally have in a safe, respectful and supportive environment. The reason being, we don't have enough of it, especially on social media. So thank you guys for joining. If you join, please do share. I will keep on apologizing throughout this broadcast that I got the timing on the flyer incorrect because we have gone from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time. So there's some of you that are going to be a little bit out of sync. But as I said, even if there's one person watching, I will keep rolling with it so that we have, the conversation that we have. Monica, thank you so much for being on here. Please do share and tag somebody to join the show, as I did such a poor job this week. Just too much going on. So yeah, so that is the reason why Speak with Dilys was created. I am an events host. I am the author of the best-selling book, Not This Widow, and another book called Predator or Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. I am also a minister at New Glory Ministry and the patron of a school in Ghana called Fountain of Youth International, which I absolutely love. And I will be telling you a lot more about those things that I do as time goes on. So let me just welcome, as I've welcomed you, Monica, and Sharon, who is watching. Greetings from, is it Banjul, Central African Republic? Wicked, you look fabulous, color purple. Thank you so much. I thought I'll just try and change it up a little bit because I was going to come with a whole different look because I was so exhausted. I've been in bed literally the whole day. My daughter's not been well and just life, basically. But you know how it is. So guys and girls, please do share as we have the 6th episode of Speak with Dilys called Black and Blue Part 2. And just to recap on what we spoke about last week, which was a really interesting conversation that we had with Richmond Apau, who is an American, well, he's a Ghanaian in America, and he works as a policeman. So that whole conversation was very necessary and very interesting, looking at the current situations that we have around us all the time, especially with policemen, irrespective of their ethnicity and people's attitudes towards them. But then looking at Black people or Black policemen and how we feel sometimes towards the police, and whether it's justified or not, and why we sometimes feel betrayed when we see Black policemen. And I'm just going by general conversations that we've had, over the years. It was good to have a conversation with Richmond and see where he was coming from. So this week, and I'm just going to go on my notes of what I shared earlier on about the conversation that we're going to be having. What I sent out was, sorry, let me just delete this because I'll end up sending a whole bunch of messages to people that I don't want to send messages to. Okay, right. So, this week's show. Don't forget to tune in to Speak with Dilys, and I've already apologized for the time error. I said last Sunday I had the pleasure of speaking with Richmond Apau, aka Richmond Rough Daddy, a police officer from Woodbridge, Virginia, USA, hearing his stories of being on the force and his personal commitment to changing the face of policing and bettering his community was inspiring as it was commendable. I've put where you can catch the replay. We live in times where nearly everything needs fixing, but nobody wants to get their hands dirty. How do we change our communities for the better? Is it worth it, and at what cost? Join me today at Speak with Dilys, 8 o'clock. The reason why I thought that it would be interesting to have this follow-on conversation is, again, I feel that you get a really good snapshot of our world today through social media. Now, people might think that's really strange, like social media is not real life, but it is real life. Because what it is, social media has allowed us all to wear a mask. It's allowed us to show up by putting our best foot forward, or by creating a whole different persona to what we really are, and allowing people to see us or how we want them to see us. Now, maybe that's a bit of a contradiction in terms in saying that's, to get a real snapshot, but I think that's what it is. People aren't showing up as themselves. And so you are seeing the other part of themselves that they can't reveal in real life. That's the homophobic self, or the racist self, or the selfish, rude, bullying, disrespectful self. That's there. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people that if we were to take some of their comments off of Facebook and compare it to who they are in the workplace, we'd be looking at two different people. We would essentially be looking at two completely different people. And so, guys, as you're joining, please do put where you're watching from. I have to apologize and keep on apologizing for those of you that would just catch this perchance, because we have changed our time. Well, we haven't changed it. The world has changed our time in London. We went from British summertime to Greenwich noon time, and that was not reflected on the comms that went out in regards to the show. But no worries, you guys. I'm sure we'll catch it on the replay as you normally do. So we will keep on having this. We will continue to have this conversation. So that is where the sickness and how damaged our community is becomes more obvious and becomes more, what's the word? Not just more obvious, but it shows us the extent to which our world is damaged. So then it leads us on to the next question. After seeing or being a witness to what we see around us and how ugly the world is, why would anybody want to take on that responsibility or put themselves forward to want to change anything? Because it is a thankless job. Nobody, even though people may be like, oh, what you're doing is great and what have you, it's a thankless job in as much that you can't draw a salary from it. You can't use it to pay your bills. If you decide to go out and change your community and the environment in which you're in, that's the motivator if it's coming from a genuine place, not the fact that, somebody may discover you and start to, I don't know, give you £1 million or give you a job for doing it. Hi, Jane, how are you doing? I know this is your first time of watching the show. I've apologized in advance for not putting out the right time, because I miscalculated that when they said the clocks were going forward, silly me, I thought it was going to go forward later on and not early hours of Sunday morning, if that makes sense. So there are people that are going to have to catch this on the replay. So apologies, but the show must go on. So thanks for joining, Jane, and I hope you do enjoy the show. So where was I? So when you look at how damaged the world is, why would anybody in their right mind want to be amongst the few that will take on the responsibility of saying, you know what, I'm going to be that change that I want to see, which is what Richmond did. So as bad as it was being a policeman in America, as bad as it was the kind of image that the police had, especially after George Floyd, and how the whole world was watching, he still took it upon himself to say, you know what, I'm responsible for my actions. This is the best that I can do for my community in this environment. And he ran with it. Hi, Jay, how are you doing? It's been a while. Thanks for joining. Guys, as you join, please do share and where you're watching from. That would be great. So this whole conversation is really to explore what it is within our communities that we need changing, and whether we are prepared to personally be the change that we want to see. I've had people say to me, Dilys, why do you do what you do? And I think somebody very recently said to me that I have myself to blame for the backlash that I sometimes face because I have put myself out there. Now, for those of you that don't know, and I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson for people that don't know me, and the reason why my social media journey has taken the route that it's taken is from, Jay says, all golden from London, England. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Hi, Adrian, how are you doing? Lovely to have you on here. Yes, I know that you're from the good old Blighty. So guys, as you join, please do share, and let's get people on here part of the conversation. As I said, I really do have to apologize for getting the timing wrong. Yin Yang, thank you, darling, for being on here. Wonderful to have you on the show. So yes, so my journey started like this. I was very, very private on social media. In fact, I was so private and so well behaved to the point where even if people were rude or disrespectful towards me, you would never catch me responding, because I'm kind of bougie like that when I want to be. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to get involved. And I was like that up until I started doing the Fit Chicks Club. So if you don't know what the Fit Chicks Club is, it's a club that I used to run online, which was basically to encourage women to take care of their health and fitness and do it in a way that was unique to them. We didn't, follow any particular body image. It was just making those small changes that were beneficial to you as a woman, and then that would go into your family and into the community to make us healthier people. And that was going great for a long time. If I had continued with that, I probably would be a millionaire by now. And I'm not exaggerating. There were just so many dimensions to the Fit Chicks Club. And it was for women who were over 35, 40, because we are the group of women, at the time, I think I was 41 when I started it, that are written off as being, surplus to requirements. Hi, Pauline, how are you doing? Lovely to have you on here. So that's how my journey started. And I became more public through the Fit Chicks Club. So, but stay with me because I'll tell you where this conversation is going. So then, during the course of doing the Fit Chicks, many women would reach out to me and would somehow just start to pour out their heart and say, oh, I have a bad relationship with food because I was raped, or because I was a victim of domestic violence, and because I don't like myself, this is why I find myself eating or having this particular habit, or not being able to sustain a good dietary, plan and commitments and what have you. Now, the frequency by which I was getting these inquiries in my inbox, I decided that, look, okay, let me start a YouTube channel called Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace, and address some of these issues that these women are having. So my very first episode kind of was decided for me, because at the time there was a case involving a very popular media personality in Ghana who was accused of raping a 19-year-old girl. Now, the conversations I was hearing within my community was that she was to blame just by virtue of the fact that she went to his hotel room, which automatically meant that she was a whore and that she was doing it that she did it because of money. That was the crux of the argument amongst the women. Forget the men. The men weren't saying this. I'm talking about women within the Ghanaian community. I was horrified as I was appalled, not because I believed that the man was guilty or innocent, but the fact that we didn't know as a community what defined rape, and that we felt that by virtue of where an alleged rape happens determines whether a person is guilty or innocent. That is what I had a problem with. So my first show was about rape, the definition of rape. And I made reference to the case that was everywhere in Ghana at the time. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. Now, when I put out that video, within 24, 48 hours, I was getting death threats and being told that I wasn't allowed to speak about this case. Now, you know me, you don't threaten me. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to just sit there and take it. So the family, in fact, it was the brother of the person who was accused of this rape, decided to send me an inbox message. And I think one other relative were sending me messages how I was going to be buried alive and, you know, all sorts of nastiness. So it got reported to the Metropolitan Police over here. He got arrested and all sorts of things happened and it just blew up. I was being interviewed here, you know, in Ghana. It was everywhere. It got to a point where I said to myself, so when everything is all said and done, oh, and then the most crucial part of this is that there were many women who alleged that this person had raped them, either when they were in their teens or they had had some kind of encounter with him. This was to the point where I had men who had worked with this celebrity saying that they were speaking to me off the record, that they had witnessed girls going into their office when they were working at particular or certain radio stations that would come out of his office in tears, and they knew what was going on. So here I was with so much information that had been given to me, so much information. And then the question then came about, what do I do with all this information? Do I just bury it? Or do I open my mouth and say something? And it was during a conversation in this very kitchen that I said to somebody, who will hear the cry of these girls and of these women if I don't say anything? What am I going to do with all this information that I've been given? And that is how the name of my charity, Who Will Hear My Cry, was birthed. And I made a decision that even if I was going to be that one voice within the Ghanaian community that was going to speak up and speak out about rape and child abuse, then I was going to be that person. And it came at a price. It came at an exceptionally high price if I had left it to come at that high price. I made a choice and I decided that I was going to put myself out there. It was a lot. It was a lot. The abuse on social media was like astronomical. However, when I started to be threatened, it did put the spotlight back on the accused, where people started to ask questions. Well, why are you threatening Dilys? What has she done? Because when you actually watch the video, I did not at any point in time, because I had no reason to, because I didn't know anything, did I ever make reference to him being guilty. Quite the opposite, actually. What I consistently said was, I wasn't there. I don't know. But what I do know is rape cannot be determined based on location. The fact that a woman goes to a man's hotel room, even if, and my point was, even if she goes with the intention to have sex, does she not have the right to rescind that consent if she wants to at any point in time? I said that consistently, but for some reason, maybe it was a guilty conscience. That's not what was heard. However, the brother did come back and apologize, but by that time, it was too late. It was like the war had already started. So my point is this: when we go back and look at maybe what is wrong with our communities and what we want to change, what is the price we're willing to pay? Because let me tell you something. At the time when I started talking about rape, child abuse, and domestic violence, let me tell you this. There are people that came after me that were very vocal, but at the time, they were not in existence and they were not as vocal as I was, because I stood on my own. And because I stood on my own, let me tell you, the ignorance that I faced was amazing. It was shocking, but I had to stay the course. There were times where I'd be having a conversation with somebody. I remember there was one weekend, the whole weekend, I was having a conversation with these group of people on my page. And the nature of the conversation was this. And this is the level of ignorance that I was having to deal with. This was from a woman. And she said to me, I pray to God that I've kept that conversation somewhere, or did she delete it? I can't remember. But what she said was she did not believe that a man could rape a woman. And these were her reasons. Her reason was there is no way a man can prise open the legs of a woman if she's fighting and at the same time try and unzip his trousers. I kid you not. I'm telling you, as God in heaven is my witness, that was the level of conversation that I was having to have with these people. When we talk of cost, it costs me my time. Sometimes it costs me my sanity. Why? Because at the time at which I set up the charity, I became the go-to person if there was a sexual abuse case or something like that. And I then became exposed, my mental and emotional health was now exposed to the very thing that I've always hated, and that's hearing about anything bad or negative happening to children. I remember when I used to contract for local authorities, and I was working at the time in Enfield. I was the manager for health and adult social care and members and and MP inquiries. And I got a phone call from an agency saying that there was a head of service role for children's social services complaints. I said, I'm not interested. I actually nearly cursed the person out. And I said, don't you ever call me when it comes to anything to do with children. And this was the punchline, because I like to be able to sleep at night. I will give you a bit of backstory as to why I felt that strongly. There was one night I wasn't able to sleep. I'd had my daughter then. My daughter was still in the cot. She still slept in my room. So she couldn't have been more than maybe just under 2 or just hitting 2. And in this house, we always used to watch like real crime stories. 1 second. And I couldn't sleep. I think she'd kept me up or something. So I was watching this program, this crime story. And it was of a little black girl, 2 big plaits in her hair. And she had befriended a neighbor, or the neighbor was a friend of her mother. And the neighbor would babysit her at times. Guys, if you're watching, hello, Anita, lovely to have you on here. And Faye, how are you doing, my love? Guys, and John Gordon, hello, Miss D. Sunday blessings to you, thank you. Ekuya Enima says Ghanaians are brought up not to speak up. We'll get back to that. You're absolutely right. So this little girl, you know, she was being babysat by this family friend, and this family friend had a boyfriend. And one day, this little girl was on a, you know, just on the swing. She was in the, like in the projects. So they had like, you know, they have the community swing and stuff for children to play. And this little girl was playing, and this neighbor came along. And let me tell you something. Yeah, this thing traumatized me for years. So much so that I remember when I watched this thing, when I went to work the next day, I was still very tearful. It had a profound effect on me. I couldn't even, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't even bear for my late husband to touch me. That's how traumatized I was by what this child went through. And basically, this child was raped by the family friend's boyfriend. And they just described certain details that just sent me off. It really did affect me mentally. So from that point, I vowed, and I said to my late husband, when it comes to children, we do not watch anything about kids in this house. Certainly not when I'm around. I just couldn't do it. So it was so ironic that me, that was just so adamant I didn't want to hear anything about kids, then ended up in this situation, wanting to protect children. And this is when you know when you've been called to do something, or when you are self-appointed. Because at that point, I then had the grace to be able to do the job that I did when it came to the charity. So having then put myself out there, I was hearing all sorts of horror stories, real life horror stories. This is no longer me watching something on TV. This is now me up close and personal, being told of a 10-year-old child that's not going to have children because the rape that she sustained was just too brutal, and me, you know, trying to get funds for her corrective surgery. That then became my reality. And I'm sharing this with you because the question is, what are we prepared to do as people to affect the change that we want to see? Because guaranteed, it comes at a cost. Guaranteed. You can't expect change, but want to sit down and fold your arms and expect change to happen. It's not going to happen. And I found that out personally by saying, right, there has to be some education when it comes to our children. The reason being, there was so much victim blaming that went on that after I put out that video, I am proud to say people's attitudes changed, especially around consent. Because when I broke it down and I explained that it's like just saying that you will have sex with somebody cannot be like a blank check, saying that because I have consented to have sex with you, you can then determine in whichever way that sex is going to be carried out, whether that involves your friends, whether that involves objects, whether that involves anal instead of vaginal sex, whatever it may be, you're then saying that because I have consented, I've consented to every and anything, and I don't own my body until you are satisfied and until you say, right, I'm done and enough is enough. And that surely cannot be right. So I really had to break things down and come down to their level of understanding. That involved do you know how much money I spent running Who Will Hear My Cry? Thousands. I mean, thousands of pounds. And that's why I had to stop when my late husband passed away, because at that point I had to put my kids first. But I spent thousands. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to wanting change, what are we prepared to do? So we're complaining about the economy. We're complaining about, our kids being so sexualized. We're complaining about, so many different things in these times. What is it we are prepared to do as individuals? Because we should never feel that one person doesn't have the power to change things. I saw it firsthand. And I know I made a difference. I know Who Will Hear My Cry made a huge difference, because it made it okay to say this happened to me and it was wrong. If for nothing else, it gave women and girls a voice to be unapologetic when they were victims of rape and abuse and domestic violence. So that's me really on what I feel, is what it means to want to see change in our community. I'm just going to go on the Facebook fan page because I obviously view from StreamYard. So do, tell me what your thoughts are. Guys, please do share. And if you're watching on Facebook, you'll see a little something called stars, and it allows me to be supported financially by putting out content like this if you feel that it is it's helpful. And it does allow me to pay for the subscription, which is like $30 every month for this StreamYard, and it allows me to be able to pay for sponsored ads, which I've not been able to do effectively as yet. So if you do like the content and you appreciate my time here every Sunday, I don't know how many shows I've done now, I can't remember, but it's in excess of 80. We will be going into series 7 if I do come back after this series. We're now practically halfway through because we have 13 episodes to a series, and this is series number 6. So we haven't done too badly. And you guys have really done well. I know today is a little bit, how can I put it? It's not as interactive because I got the timings wrong. So do forgive me. I will make sure that the flyers next week will be reflective of the correct time. And I should have a guest next week because it's one guest on one week and, just yours truly the next week. So I hope you'll be happy to have the right details then. So guys, do tell me, what do you feel about what you want to see in terms of change, and what price would you be willing to pay to be the change that you want to see? Because one thing about change and affecting change is it means that you are going to rock the boat, and people who are happy at maintaining the status quo. Because let me tell you something, when I started to speak up about rape, child abuse, and domestic violence in Ghana as a result of that case. I think what touched my heart more than anything were women who came into my inbox and just said thank you. There were a number of women who are still friends with me on Facebook today. Some I've never met in person, and I'm the only person that they have ever disclosed that they were raped. I'm the only person. One even messaged me recently when I was in Ghana, and she said, thank you, because to this day, you are the only person I've ever told. And this is a woman who, you know, grown, she's got her family and everything. And I'm the one that's kept that secret just because I said, this thing that I have seen is not right. And somebody needs to open their mouth and say something about it. So it will always come at a cost. It cost me the family, you know, time with my family. It cost me, I mean, there were times where I had to really dig deep and really manage my mental health. I mean, I've heard things that people shouldn't hear. And I actually remember being at an event in South London years ago, you know, shortly after I started the charity. And it was a lady with her son who was actually a result of her rape as a young girl. She had to have an abortion at the age of, I believe she was 10, because her foster father was raping her. She was a black child. The foster father was white. So, you know, it was a lot, put it that way. It was a lot. Now, at the time, they had tried to perform an illegal abortion. And she explained what went on in graphic detail. Now, at one point, this was me. I got up like this because I thought, I can't take this anymore. And I heard a voice say to me, you only have to listen. You don't have to go through it. And I sat my backside down and I had to listen. Because at the end of the day, these are the people that I claimed that I was going to serve. So how can I relate to the depth of their pain if I'm not prepared to listen to it? It came at a cost because, trust me, there were days that I could not sleep. It would just be going round. And it can affect your sex life. I'm telling you, it can affect your sex life where you're thinking sex now becomes dirty to you. Because when you're hearing that a 2-year-old child has died because they've been raped, how do you climb into bed with your partner or your husband and enjoy that act? So, you know, when you think about it, the impact is huge. But it had to be done. Let me just read a comment here. Ying Yang says, so proud of the courage and eloquence you show in every situation. Thanks for being a voice for many of us. God bless you. And thank you too. Thank you too. Adrian, I don't know if you've made a comment, but it's not showing. And also John Gordon as well. I can just see your name come up. So if you have made a comment, please do double post. But let me see if I can see it on my screen here. Thank you guys for sharing, those of you that have shared. And thank you for sending the stars. It doesn't show up on here. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Let me see. Oops, right. Hold on. Right, I've cut that off. So let me see who sent the stars. John Gordon has sent 500 stars. Wow, thank you so much. And Adrian, thank you, 200 stars. And Ying Yang, 500 stars. You guys are amazing. Thank you very much. There's times where I have so many people watching, I don't get that many stars, and there's just a few of you today because I messed up on the time. But thank you, I really do appreciate you. Jane says, oh yes, that has come up here, but let me read it on here. Jane says, I felt guilty for writing my book, as felt bad that people had to read the things that happened to me and was worried how it would affect them. Jane, I didn't know you wrote a book, so please do put the link of the book on here. And let's have a conversation later on about it, because it would be good to see what the book is about. And, you know, it may be great if we can get you on the show. So let's have a conversation. It's tough because you do worry about how people are going to receive what you're sharing, but it's necessary because someone has to hear it, because that story is going to encourage somebody. And, you know, we are in an era where what we go through and what we share and how it has to impact people has got to go beyond, oh, I understand, I know how you feel. People want to know that, yeah, you really do know how I feel, and you really do understand, and you really understand and know how I feel because of X, Y, or Z. It's like when I was widowed. When I speak to, listen, there's times where I don't even have to speak to a widow. We just have to be in the same room and there's just a look and we understand each other. I don't have to say much, you know. So it's one of those things where that's your journey and you have to walk it and be unapologetic, and don't worry about how it will affect people. If it will affect them in that way, then your story's not for them at that time. That's all it means. But like with me, as I said, I had to literally, I was getting up to leave or to go for a walk because it was just too much. You know, I'm visualizing, you know, this 10-year-old girl pregnant with her foster father with a coat hanger trying to perform an illegal abortion. I'm thinking that's a child. But I had to just listen to it because it wasn't my journey, it wasn't my experience. It was someone else's. The least I could do is create that space for them to have that experience, for them to be able to, speak about their experience and give that trauma that they went through the respect it deserved by listening to it. So that's how it was. Jane, thank you for posting that. I really do appreciate that, and I'm going to go check it out. The book is called Can't Anyone Help Me? I'm assuming it's on Amazon. So Jane, do let us know where we can get a copy of that book. I did have some guests lined up, but I'm kind of feeling very interested to hear what you have to say. A comment has been posted by Sophie. Thank you very much for being on here. Sophie said, that's it. We tend to complain without having our skin in the game. Right now, I am working with Christian communities in the UK about racial injustice, but it has come at a very high cost, including closing my own church, including losing my own church community and friends. But it is what it is. But it is what is required. And although it hurts, I've accepted the cost. Sophie, let me tell you about church. Same thing. It cost me a church that I was in and loved dearly for 19 years because I spoke up about somebody who was sexually assaulting women. And yeah, it cost me. But you know what? Like you said, it's what's required. And you see, I was having a conversation with myself, as you do, earlier on this evening, and I was just thinking, you know, about this Christian walk of mine, and I was saying that, you know what, the way I believe God works is the more ridiculous and unattainable it seems, the more I look and say, my faith has got to match up to that. Because if everything was so predictable and easy, we wouldn't want it, and it wouldn't have the impact that it should have. So it comes at this cost, because with as a human being, we have to be prepared to be pruned. The problem is we don't want to go through that metamorphosis of changing where we are to our own version of our promised land. And that wilderness walk is where we are pruned, where our character is tested, where our faith is tested, where our commitment is tested. All those things takes us to that place where we qualify and say, right, I have now arrived, and I now have the scars and the bruises to show that I am qualified to speak on this, or I'm qualified to receive this, or I'm qualified to help these people. So don't worry about the fact that it's come at a high cost. It just means that your calling is high, and therefore what's required for you to be able to go through that process, it's just a mirror image. So keep on going and do what you have to do, and do what you are called to do. Because some of us are called to do what we are doing, so we have the grace to do it. Before I realized that I was called to help people in this capacity, I just shut myself off. No, I don't want to know. I thought ignorance was bliss. But you see, this is the danger of not walking in your lane and not answering the call that every single person has on their life. There is no human being that is born that doesn't have a responsibility for another human being. We are born as, human beings are born for relationship. We are all born for relationship. That is why when we are born into families where, there's any type of abuse or any type of rejection, it is so damning and is so debilitating for us. That's the reason, because we are created for relationship. So when relationship doesn't happen, our souls become broken. Therefore, each person has a responsibility for the other. So literally, yes, you are supposed to be your brother's keeper. The problem we have is we have become so selfish and so self-centered that we don't give much thought to what the next person is going through. Because I'm telling you, even poverty, if we were prepared to sit down and say, okay, what is it you have, Jane, in your hand? Adrian, what do you have? I only have rice. Adrian said, well, I only have oil. Jane says, well, at least I have a cooker, but I ain't got no food. If we have these conversations with each other, the fact that I don't have a cooker then becomes irrelevant because Jane's got one. Adrian has got oil. It means we can come together and form something, and each person, by coming together, becomes a beneficiary of what the other person has. The problem that we have is, I've got rice. I ain't sharing my rice with nobody. Hell no. If I share my rice and it gets finished, where am I going to get rice from? Adrian's sitting there. Oh, well, I've got oil. There's a shortage of oil. I'm not sharing my oil with anybody because I don't know when I'm going to get the next one. And Jane's sitting there saying that, well, I've got my cooker and the gas I've got, bills have gone up. I'm not sharing. And because we have become so selfish and everybody has become an island, we are of no use to anybody. And yet we ourselves, we are suffering. We're not even benefiting from the mindset that we've adopted in being so closed and so selfish. So when we talk about how can we change our communities, it has got to come to a point of selflessness and saying, I want to be compassionate to the point where this is all I have. Listen, I don't say these things because I'm an angel. I'm not. But I say these things because I think we have to normalize certain behaviors. A few months back, I was dirt broke. When I mean dirt broke. Last year, I can't remember, after I got COVID. And I had some money in my pocket. And I was going somewhere. I think I was on a night out. And I had some money in my pocket. And I saw a homeless person at Tottenham Court Road Station. Can't remember where I was going. I think I was going to Greek Street. I was going to meet my brother who was DJing somewhere. And I heard a voice say to me, give the man that money. And I was like, hell no. I cannot tell you how supernaturally I believe my feet just did an about turn. And I gave the man the money I had in my pocket. And I laughed and I just shook my head and I said, Lord, you just have a way of doing things. We have to learn to be prepared to give the shirt off our back. I'm not saying I'm there. I'm getting there. I'm doing my best. At the level at which I am trying to do something. And I'm saying, if we don't start to adopt that attitude, especially for our children who have become very selfish and very self-centered, unless we start to adopt that attitude, I am telling you, the world that we will continue to contribute to create will be a world that we will find very difficult to live in. Bearing in mind, we're all young. Forget the fact that we're in our 50s. The 50-year-olds in the 2000s are very, very different from our parents' definition of 50. But they looked old at 40, excluding my parents. You know what my parents look like. But you know what I mean? They were old before their time. They got to 45 and thought that it was all over. They started dressing like grannies. I'm 51. Do you understand? Hey, still got it going on. Everything that needs to be standing is still standing. Do you get me? But on a serious note, when we are unable to just pick up ourselves and say, oh, right, okay, if this one's not doing it for me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And we don't have that strength and that energy. The world that we have created, okay, over the years is what will speak for us. When you see people that die on their own, I am not saying that it's because they were evil or wicked people, but they didn't invest in their community to make that change and be the change they wanted to see. Because when people are lonely, it's because they are not a friend to somebody. It sounds harsh, and I'm speaking in general terms. I'm not speaking of people who are reclusive because of sickness. I'm talking about able-bodied people. Somehow, you have got to be that thing that you yourself desire or you yourself need. Let me just read a couple of your comments. Adrian says, amen. Adrian got oil. Hallelujah. I will share. Adrian, I know you do. You're very supportive of my show, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Somebody says, hey, beautiful. I don't know who you are because it's come up as Facebook user. However, actually, well, on a minute. The Glamorous Herbalist. She is going to have a show that will be starting in November, and I'm going to be on that show, so look out for that. So I hope you're enjoying the show, sweetheart. Do put in the comments box the name of your show. Janet and Wetu, thank you for watching. And Anita says, please don't feel guilty. Sharing our abusive experience helps multitudes to get through their own. Yeah, it really does, Anita. Thank you for that. You're very, 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 very right. It does. Yin Yang says, I used to be very giving, learned it from my father. He used to say, I give so that when I or my child is in need, others will give them or help them. Well, that did not happen. So now I just keep to myself. Don't. Keep giving. You see, let me tell you something. Let me tell you the trick about giving that people don't know. People seem to feel that when you give, it means you will receive a monetary return. Let me tell you something about giving. Giving means that you open yourself up to blessings that you wouldn't even expect. Ying, as much as you say that that nothing happened, something did happen. You met a wonderful man who loves you to death. You have a beautiful daughter. You have your health. You, as a result of your experiences, also have a story to tell. And for that reason, what you gave out is speaking for you in different ways. You see, we can't always feel that a blessing is going to come. Well, I gave someone £10, so I'm going to get £10 back. It's even better than that. Thankfully, it's even better than that. How boring that, but because I gave £100, I'm going to get £100 back. How predictable. But I believe that there are people that we help in this world who are angels that we don't even see. I believe that man in Tottenham Court Road, I don't know how my feet turned around and gave that man that money that I had in my pocket. And could I afford it? No. I needed that money at that time. I really did. But if for nothing else, it gives me a heart to be expectant that I will also have what I need when I need it. So we should never look at what we give and look to see. Let me give you an example. When we give, it's a seed, and seed bears fruit. Not every seed is the same, and therefore not every fruit is going to be the same. Who plants and sits and watches the soil 24 hours a day to see what fruit is, what harvest they're going to get? Who does that? Nobody does that. You plant your seed and you mind your business, trusting that the elements, the rain, the sun, the wind, even animals and their manure will do what it needs to do for your seed, so your seed will bear fruit and you get a harvest. That's exactly what you need to do when it comes to giving. Just give and mind your business and understand that the elements will take care of that seed. And if it's good seed, it will bear good fruit. Don't ever feel that your giving is either in vain or was of no consequence. Because I am telling you, there are people that are watching that will shock you. There are people that are watching what you do and it will surprise you. I was shocked when can you imagine? There was a lady even older than me that said she had been raped at a young age. I refuse to give details because if, for obvious reasons. She too came and said to me, "You're the only person that knows. Even my husband doesn't know." Don't think that the things that we do are of no consequence. And I will really beseech you, don't ever stop giving. Don't ever stop giving, because what you do is you close the door of a blessing that is, that you can be enjoying. Even if you don't enjoy, your children will enjoy. Never look at the wickedness of people, because I could have done that. When my late husband passed away and the kind of treatment that I had from people I never expected, I too could have said, right, I'm done. I wouldn't be doing Speak with Dilys now. There are so many. I've done 80 shows, over 80 shows. It's only series 6 that I've started to have guests. Now, if you look from series 1, episode 1, up until series 5, episode 13, I have taught every single time. Whether it's how to live after sexual abuse, whether it's how you can manage being in a relationship with a man who was rejected by his mother, obscure conversations that you will not have anywhere. Had I decided that I was not going to give, those people that have benefited from those conversations, it wouldn't have happened, because Dilys would be in her corner because, hey, people have let me down. Do you know the kind of betrayal that I have faced from people that I've known even until very recently? You will be shocked. People that I gave my heart to, that when they needed help, whether it was moral support, money, what have you, I was there for them. Not knowing that they had a very deliberate and systematic agenda to destroy me to people that were the closest to me. But nothing will ever stop me from giving. Nothing. You know why? Because I'm not looking for gratitude. When you give and you wait for people to be grateful, guaranteed you will always be disappointed. 9 times out of 10, you'll be disappointed. Because human beings, we are built to be inherently selfish. And because we are not a God-fearing people, and we've lost a lot of morality, we can take and take and take and spit at the person that we're taking from without any semblance of guilt. But it's okay. Wipe off the saliva and keep giving. That's all I can say. Let me read a comment. Sophie says, that's right. We probably won't reap where we have planted, but we do reap elsewhere all the time. And Nita says, very true. It's a real blessing to give. We are repaid in more ways than we can ever imagine. I'm telling you. Ying says, that's true. God gave me a chance at life regardless. There you go. You see, this life is all about perspective. It's all about how we interpret the experience that we go through. In every situation, as ugly as it is, as horrible as it may be, if you look for the good in there, you will find it. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the worst thing that you could think could happen to a person. But in there somewhere, there is good. It just depends on your perception. So, when it comes to managing what we want to see change, we have to be very deliberate and put on our big girl and big boy pants and panties and just keep going with it and keep saying, you know what, this here needs changing. I am going to change it. Be prepared. It will cost you something. It may cost you friends. It may cost you family. Look, when I started to talk about rape and child abuse, let me tell you, I lost friends, I lost friends. I lost some male friends. I lost some male friends when I started to find out about their background. It made sense. I lost friends. Because now what Dilys was speaking about, people wanted to distance themselves from me. A lot of people distanced themselves from me. There were people that were quite happy to be my friend, male and female. The moment I started to speak about rape, child abuse, and domestic violence, I was like a leper. I didn't really care because I felt that I was needed more by the children that needed me than grown-ass adults that, because they were just too wicked and evil, decided not to be my friend. Look, if you know my history, as a young girl, I had no flipping friends. I had no friends. I was born in England in the 70s, and it was very racist where I was, and I wasn't one of the kids that dressed all hip and looked nice. So I didn't have no friends. Now everybody wants to be my friend. I'm not mad at them. I was cool. So being a loner is something that I'm like that now. I was saying that I like my own company a bit too much. It's a bit unhealthy, but it is what it is. So there's a couple of comments on here that I can't see who they are, so I'm going to read from here. Christopher Brown is watching. Thank you for watching. D. Lakshmi, thank you for being on here. And The Glamorous, she says, yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Sweetheart, I have not seen you post the title of your show and your real name, so please do post it in the comments box so that people can get acquainted. Karen Shaw, thank you for being on here. I'm just scrolling through because I've got my Facebook one on here, so it actually works. So I'm doing this on my laptop. Who else? I hope I've not missed anybody. Thank you so much for those of you that have sent stars. And as I said, stars, if you're watching on Facebook and not on YouTube, there's a stars icon where you can give a monetary gift to help support the work that I do in regards to giving this content. So thank you very much if you are going to support. And I will look on here and see if you have, so I can say thank you. The Glamour says, amen, Dilys. Excuse, because we serve a higher purpose than impressing our peers or elders. Exactly. Evelyn is in the house. Thank you, Evelyn, for being on here. Where have you been? She just got here. Evelyn is here every week. Thank you so much for joining. The Glamour said, my show is called The Self-Love Talk Show, and my name is Trinasia Brianna. She's a lovely, lovely young lady from the States that, we got connected, I think, pretty recently. And we had a conversation last week because she's starting her new show. And you know me, again, it's about support. This pie is real big and everybody can get a slice. I don't do that whole hogging thing. Once I know that you do something, then I make sure that I do scream and shout about you. Evelyn, don't worry, you're going to have to catch the replay. I've only got a minute left, actually. I didn't even realize time's gone so quick. So, I really do hope that you have enjoyed the show. Mimi Mensa, thank you for joining, my love. We are wrapping up. It's not that you're late. I've been apologizing to everybody because I put the wrong time on there. There is no British summertime as of today. It's GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. So I kind of got it a little mixed up. So I know that, we've not got many people on today, but it's okay. I think it's been lovely and intimate. And I do believe that we've had a good conversation. And I think I owe you 2 minutes. I think I was at a couple of minutes behind schedule. So, it's always good to talk and to have conversations with like-minded people and conversations with people that aren't like-minded, because some of what we do in terms of affecting changes in our communities is speaking to people who are not like-minded. So when I was telling you the story of, that little girl that, was raped, and after that I was, started the charity. I think why it affected me so much was I had just had a baby girl. And I couldn't believe that anybody could be so evil. But I thought, well, if I want my daughter to be protected, then I have to speak about these things to create a world and an environment where young girls and young children are protected. It's really that simple. So if we want things to change in our communities, then we're going to have to sit there and strategize and say, right, how is this going to happen? That's why Speak with Dilys exists. This show exists because I felt it necessary for us to be able to have conversations that we normally would not have in an environment that is safe and respectful. If I've done over 80 shows, I can count on one hand. In fact, I can't count ever where there has been any kind of disrespect or nasty comments from people to each other. It's never happened on my show. The only time you'll see something stupid is if somebody who is not, doesn't watch my show and randomly comes on just to be silly, because you get trolls everywhere. But you will not see somebody share something that's been either traumatic or upsetting to them, and people turn around and make disparaging comments or disrespect. Not on Speak with Dilys. It does not happen. In fact, not even on my personal wall. But that's testament to the fact that it is possible to make positive change and bring people along with you. It is very, very possible. And that's why I've always had, such great support for as long as I've been doing this. So thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I feel like I'm only just warming up, to be honest. It's a shame that we've got to go off now. But I am very grateful for the support that you give. Again, thank you so much for the stars. If you're catching the replay, do put in there that you are watching the replay and where you're watching from. And do share your thoughts. The conversations don't have to stop just because the broadcast ends. So once again, thank you very much, everybody. Pauline, thank you. So thank you for taking the step and speak. You are a trailblazer for many. God bless you. Thank you so much. Janet says, well done. Thank you so much. Jane says, thanks for the inspiration. Thank you too. Thank you so much for the shout out. Anytime. So, guys, continue supporting and loving each other. We're going into 2023. Maybe this might be a good time to mention this. So I used to do a workshop called Rewriting History. And this workshop essentially was put together so that we could identify at least one win that we wanted to achieve in the new year. I personally was tired at the time of every year thinking something amazing was going to happen, and it didn't. I took control of that by saying, right, I am going to get into the right headspace and determine the amazing thing I want to happen and work towards it happening by doing X, Y, Z, but most importantly, taking into consideration the things that could take place that could knock me off that path to something great happening. The last Rewriting History workshop that I did was the most successful. So normally what will happen is we have a champagne breakfast for the VIPs, and then people that will come on a regular ticket will come afterwards, and we have a full 1-day workshop where I work with the group that's there to identify that win, and we process map how it is going to be possible and executed. So there is so that come 2024, because this will be 2023, on the 31st of December 2023, you can look back and say, no matter how bad my year was, or no matter how much I didn't get everything I wanted, this one thing that I set out to do, I was able to do it. Well, the last one I did was on the 19th of January, 2019. And for those of you that were there, I remember saying, I don't know why I said this, and I said, we have to deal, because they're part of the course where I talk about legitimate curveballs. And legitimate curveballs are those things that could happen that you could legitimately just hang up your gloves and say, right, I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore. And I said, because when it came out of my mouth, I thought, why did I say that? I said, even death can happen and you still need to keep going. 2 days later, my husband died. 2 days later, less than 48 hours later, I was widowed. He was gone, just like that. I have not done a Rewriting History workshop since then, and that would be 4 years. Time goes so quickly. But I really want to do a Rewriting History workshop in 2023. Now I'm looking at the 7th of January. I will get back to you guys and let you know whether it's possible, because it's a real change of plan. I just felt it so strongly in my spirit this week that I really want to do this workshop. And this is what I'm saying about, again, it goes to changing community, because if people are able to win at things, they are happier people, they're more settled, they're not living a life of regret, which was my main thing. That, every year we go into a new year and we're regretting that another year's gone, especially for women. I'm older, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. I wanted to quash that because I myself had gone through it, and I thought, enough. Let's take control of time and let time work for us. Instead of us trying to catch up with time, let time work for us. So that's the Rewriting History workshop that I may be bringing back. I will be bringing back come 2023. So look out for that. So yeah, that's how we change our world and keep going. So Ying says, always a pleasure to listen to your wisdom. God bless you, dear. God bless you too. Guys, so I'm going to go. So I just thought I would just mention that. So keep that in your minds. Raki Shana, Is it Benny Jal said, first time watching from the USA? Well, that's lovely. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope I see you next week. It's always a pleasure when I get somebody new. Name is Shana. Thank you so much, Shana, for watching. It's great to have you. Really, really great to have you. I hope you've enjoyed it. So, guys, please do share. I probably will try and, I'm not a techie person, but the Rewriting History Workshop, I am going to maybe do it as a webinar as well. And God bless you too, Shana. God bless you. I am going to do it as a workshop so that it can get out to more people. But for those of you who will be in London, do make a mental note of it. I'm hoping that I can get confirmation from the venue this week. And if I can, then we are going to start to rewrite our history. Okay, guys, God bless you. More love to each and every one of you. I was so tired this morning. I could hardly get out of bed. My daughter's not been well. And I was feeling a little, not down, I was fine, but just my energy was just zapped. But I don't know, I just feel really, there's just something going on in my spirit now as I'm talking to you guys. I just feel really blessed to have done this particular episode. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about, really. But I'm just thankful for you guys. So thank you so much. And God bless you, Evelyn. So guys, have a wonderful week, a wonderful rest of the evening. And I shall see you next Sunday, God willing. So stay safe, do something different this week, and keep in mind the Rewriting History Workshop. And hopefully I'll have some good news to share with you next week. God bless, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.